You are listening to the story on channel. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Reincarnation of the Strongest Sword God. Chapter 1, Starting Over. In the dead of night. At Green Bamboo Upper Class Area, Jinhai City, Shifeng held a folder of documents as he sat silently on the leather sofa, gazing at the pool outside through the French window. Shifeng was filled with both frustration and unwillingness. He was the captain of Shadow, one of Jinhai City's top 4 gaming workshops. He had commanded a guild of tens of thousands of people. Even more, he was Jinhai City's famous expert. He was the sword magician. However, now the only thing he could do was drink away his sorrows inside his home. 10 years he had spent in gaming. 10 years he had fought in blood-soaked battles. He experienced countless trials and suffering. Under his leadership, Shadow had successfully established 10 city-states in God's domain. They were finally capable of rivaling the first-rate guilds. However, before he could enjoy any of that endless glory, a single document had turned everything into passing smoke. Once it was gone, it was never coming back. Shifeng never thought his 10 years of effort would just go to waste. He sacrificed so much just for the game, and yet, all he did was pave the way for others to the very end. All of this culminated because he had opposed the decision for Shadow to join the Super Guild, World Dominators. It wasn't even the next day before Lan Hua Financial Group gave him their reply. He had to delete his level 200 Sword King, the account he had spent 10 years of blood and sweat on, and to collect his settlement check from the financial department. All he received was 5 million credits and a single mansion. When compared to the established 10 city-states inside the money-generating virtual kingdom, it couldn't even be considered a drop in the ocean. Shifeng thought about how much he had contributed to Shadow. He thought about how his efforts had turned Lan Hua groups into a large financial group. Then, he thought about how they still threw him away, as if he was no different from garbage. Shifeng swore he would take revenge for their actions. I won't just let this go. At worst, I'll just start over. Shifeng's eyes flashed with confidence and resolution. His hands tore the termination contract into little pieces. Grabbing the bottle of wine from the tabletop, he gulped down several mouthfuls. Even if he no longer had his Sword King account, even if he no longer had his team's support, the skills and knowledge he obtained from the game would not betray him. As long as his skills remained, he could still rise once more within God's domain. He could rebuild a virtual kingdom of his own. Early morning. The sun had just risen. DI. 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 The phone alarm continuously rang. Shifeng woke up resentfully. He helplessly reached for his phone by the bedside. The effects from yesterday's drinking still loomed over him. Hey, what's up, brother phone? It's me, Blackie. You're still asking what's up? Didn't we agree to become professional gamers? Shadow Workshop is recruiting at our school today. Haven't you always wanted to become Shadow's core member? Shifeng was slightly confused. Lan Hua Financial Group just fired him, so why would he attend Shadow's examination? Brother phone? Brother phone? Can you hear me? They are testing at 10 o'clock. If you don't hurry up, you're not gonna make it. Blackie, stop joking around. I just got fired from Shadow. Fired? Brother phone, how much did you drink yesterday? Even now, you're still not awake. How could you be fired if Shadow hasn't even recruited anybody until now? Alright, just come quickly. Blackie had cut the call before Shifeng could respond. When Shifeng looked at his phone in a daze, he discovered that this old and broken down iPhone 6 was not his phone. His phone was the latest iPhone 12. Immediately, Shifeng inspected his surroundings. What met his eyes was a messy room, no larger than 15 square meters. All around, there were books on gaming strategies. At a corner of the room, above the study table, there was an extremely outdated laptop. Within the wardrobe by the wall, there were clothes messily piled together. Inside the wardrobe, there was a mirror that currently showed a familiar face. Shir FJDIHKHH Thigh TLF Ilief. Shifeng jumped up in shock when he saw this extremely familiar face. How have I become young again? Shifeng immediately walked towards the mirror. Only after looking at the mirror, at the reflection shown on it, over and over, did Chiffon confirm that he had indeed become young again. He slept in his luxurious and spacious bedroom yesterday, but now he was in this broken-down place after waking up. Not only that, he also had become young again. Chiffon could still recall some memories regarding this place. He had lived here 10 years ago. For over 6 months, Chiffon rented this place in reluctance, all so that he could play God's domain while also attending university. Only after he had earned some money in God's domain had he rented a large condominium. Chiffon thought back to those arduous years. His family circumstances at that time weren't in good shape. For Chiffon to attend university, his parents had racked up some debts. Even so, Chiffon's parents still made sure to send him sufficient living expenses every month, taking on the suffering themselves in return. Chiffon wholeheartedly wanted to change his family circumstances. However, finding a well-paying job while the streets were filled with university graduates was tremendously hard, so he thought of the highly profitable virtual reality games. Setting professional gamer as his goal, he even bought a virtual gaming helmet, training arduously within the game to improve his skills. During that time, bread and instant noodles became his daily meals. To save money, he had also avoided participating in social gatherings held by his classmates, causing him to become an invisible existence in his class. The boys would look at him with disdain, while the girls would distance themselves from him. Every time Chiffon went shopping for cup noodles, his wallet would have no more than 10 credits. He did not even dare buy a ham sausage that only cost a single credit. In pity, the female salesperson there had offered him the ham sausage at a discounted price. However, the feeling of his empty wallet made Chiffon refuse with great reluctance. Is someone playing a prank on me? Chiffon stared at his younger self through the mirror and at the familiar surroundings. Chiffon couldn't help but shake his head, denying such a conclusion. Even America, as the world's most developed country, didn't have such rejuvenating technology. Besides, who would play such a joke with a poor old uncle like him? Chiffon looked at the time on his phone. The 19th of April 2129. Don't tell me I have been reincarnated? Chiffon's face revealed a bitter smile. He remembered today was the 5th of August, in the year 2139. It couldn't possibly be April of 2129, the year he was still attending university. Chiffon shook his head, trying to wake himself up. Yet, deep down, he still held onto a thread of hope, wishing that he could be reincarnated, returning to the time 10 years ago. He walked towards the desk, powering up the laptop. Even if the time on his phone could be faked, the information on the internet definitely couldn't. After surfing the web for several minutes, Chiffon was utterly devastated. All the information he found on the internet showed that today was the 19th of April 2129. Even the highly anticipated official release date of God's domain was clearly displayed on its official site, counting down to 6 days. From now, the 25th of April, I really have been reincarnated. Did I really come back to 10 years ago? Chiffon firmly stared at the news report of God's domain, emotional tears leaking from the corners of his eyes. Chiffon's feelings were hard to describe at that moment. He felt both regret, sadness, and joy. It was as if everything before him was just a dream. Nonetheless, the chirping of insects and the cold wind blown from the air conditioner told him otherwise, that everything was real. Looking at his phone, at the family photo he took when he entered university, Chiffon never realized that his parents had white hair. The corners of his mother's eyes even had wrinkles. They were no longer as lively as before, they were truly old. Now, a year and a half had already passed since God's domain's release when Chiffon noticed how aged his parents were. The large amounts of debt, excessive laboring, and stress had caused both his parents to fall ill, gravely ill. Curing them required millions of credits, but, during that time, Chiffon was merely a squad captain in shadow. The money he earned was far from enough to foot such expensive costs. Chiffon tried everything to collect enough money, yet it was still not enough. Even with trying his all, Chiffon's parents still left him a few months later. In his previous life, he failed to care for his parents properly. How could he have known of the pain and suffering? After Shifeng earned millions of credits, this pain remained within Shifeng's heart for forevermore. Never would he have thought fate would play such a joke on him. He unexpectedly returned to the starting point, starting back. Up from zero. Great! This is just too great. Ha ha ha. Since I have been reincarnated, I have to change everything. I will earn enough money to cure mom and dad, and I will let them live a life without worries. Shifeng silently swore to himself as he wiped away the tears. Just when Shifeng was planning for his future, Blackie's call came ringing again, continuously urging Shifeng to go quickly to the university for the test. Yet, Shifeng did not rush. He dressed at a relaxed pace, tidying himself up before heading to Jinhai University. He could not be more familiar with Shadow. Shifeng still remembered. It was while he was still attending university, Lan Hua Group's prize son, Lan Hailong, started up Shadow Workshop to enter God's domain. Lan Hailong also invested considerable funding into the recruitment of the student experts of Jinhai University. Shifeng participated in Shadow's examination at the time, successfully becoming a core member of the workshop, whereas Blackie became an outer member. Shifeng had been happy for quite some time after that incident. After 3 years of being under the leadership of Shifeng, Shadow Workshop allowed Lan Hua Group to greatly profit from God's domain, quickly becoming a large financial group. However, Shifeng would never have thought that Lan Hailong would be the one to fire him, personally. Since he had been reincarnated, he had an absolute advantage within God's domain that others did not. Naturally, he would not be joining Shadow to become a tool that profited others. He wanted to walk a different path, a path where he fought not for others, but for himself. He wanted to remove the need for his parents to send him living expenses. He wanted to pay back all the debt they had collected. To do that, he wanted to venture, to start his own workshop, to start his own company, and to build his own virtual kingdom, all to live a better life. As soon as Shifeng arrived at teaching block 1, he caught sight of a thin and tall figure in front of the building. The tanned youth was pacing around the hallway in a panic. This person was Blackie. Brother Feng, you finally decided to show up. Fortunately, registration hasn't closed yet, so let's hurry in and sign up, Blackie said anxiously after seeing Shifeng. Shifeng shook his head, seriously saying, Blackie, I'm not joining Shadow, I'll be opening my own workshop. Will you join me? Blackie was someone Shifeng met in another virtual reality game, and the former had pretty good skills. The two of them had faced many challenges together, and they were no different than true brothers at this point. During their time together working in Shadow, Blackie showed great talent in administration, even though he lacked the talent for gaming. He managed the 100,000 guild members clearly and orderly. If Shifeng had Blackie's help this time, his plans would be one step further. Yet, he would respect Blackie's decision regardless. It was because Shifeng had nothing right now, and Blackie's family circumstances were not that well, either. Blackie had only chosen to become a professional gamer and join Shadow to earn some credits for living expenses. Blackie blanked at Shifeng's words, lowering his head in silence. It was just too sudden. Not only that, the Shifeng that he saw today felt different. Unlike his usual impatient attitude, Shifeng currently gave off an unshakable and confident aura. After a full minute, Blackie raised his head to look at Shifeng. Brother Feng, stop speaking nonsense. Do you know how much a virtual gaming helmet costs? That's 8,000 credits. You also need at least 6 people to start up a workshop. What about the workplace, salary, and everything else? Just the initial startup funds would require 70 to 80,000. There are also the follow-up investments. That's a lot of credits. Do you have that many credits right now? Blackie was very aware of Shifeng's circumstances. He knew Shifeng's household wasn't well off, so he wanted to persuade Shifeng away from this sort of crazy thinking. You're right. Right now, I don't even have the credits for a God's Domain virtual gaming helmet. Shifeng nodded his head in admittance. It was like Blackie said. Even just 70 to 80,000 was considered a small amount. Shafone recalled. Lan Hailong had spent over 5 million credits for the 100-man workshop he had recruited. He had also spent more in the later stages to upgrade the workshop's quality and strength. Since this is so, rather than take the risk, wouldn't it be safer to join Shadow? At the very least, Shadow can provide us with. Since this is so, rather than take the risk, wouldn't it be safer to join Shadow? At the very least, Shadow can provide us with virtual gaming helmets. Otherwise, forget becoming professional players, we wouldn't even be able to play the game. Seeing that Shafone understood the core of the problem, Blackie sighed in relief as he pulled Shafone into the teaching block. Shafone shook away Blackie's hand, sternly staring at Blackie before saying in a grave tone, I still plan on starting my own workshop. I don't want to be controlled by others. So, Blackie, will you join me? Shafone would not insist to Blackie since he did not have any guarantees. He also couldn't reveal the secret that he had been reincarnated. He could only hope that Blackie would believe in him. Seeing Shafone's serious expression, Blackie felt Shafone was acting weird today. This was madness. Everyone knew you couldn't earn money during the initial periods of virtual games. Did Shafone have some way to make money in God's domain? Even if they did make money, it would be after a few months. They did not have that much time to waste. After hesitating for quite some time, Blackie reluctantly answered, I get it. You're the boss. I'll start a workshop together with you, but what about the virtual gaming helmets? We can't play the game without them, right? Shafone's tightened brows immediately relaxed as he happily clapped Blackie's shoulders, saying, now this is my good brother. Don't worry about the gaming helmets. I recall that God's Domain had a trial period available for university students. Every university has a distribution point and, as long as you show them your student identification, then, for 10 days, you can obtain a gaming helmet for free. Let's go and take a look. What do we do after 10 days? Blackie's tanned face turned ashen, suddenly feeling his future was pitch black. Why did he have to believe Shafone? Could it be Shafone's confidence and steadiness? There wouldn't be a problem venturing together with Shafone, right? What could you do with 10 days in God's domain? They would definitely miss out on the recruitment period of workshops after 10 days. In the end, they still had to buy the gaming helmet, but where would the money come from? Not even a professional gamer with a group would be able to earn 16,000 credits within 10 days of God's domain's opening. Leave the money problem to me. Shafone revealed a confident smile as he clapped Blackie's shoulders. Earning 16,000 credits in 10 days was indeed a pure fantasy. However, he had his spirit as a reincarnated person. No matter what the challenges were, he would break through them all, and the release of God's domain was the starting point of his rise. Afterward, Shafone brought Blackie to retrieve the virtual gaming helmets. He then used all his money to buy 2 large boxes of instant noodles, placing them under his desk in his rented house. They were enough to last him for over 10 days. After briefing Blackie on some things in God's domain, Shafone quietly waited for God's domain's opening. 25th of April, 9 p.m. Within the dark and silent room, a few glimmers of light flickered alive. Shafone laid on his bed, gently pushing the start button as he closed his eyes. God's domain, here I come. Reincarnation of the strongest sword G. Chapter 2, Sherlock's Request. Chapter 2, Sherlock's Request. To accommodate the majority of players, God's domain could be played while sleeping. Also, the time within the game was different than in reality, where 2 hours within the game was equal to 1 hour in reality. Each day within the game was made up of 48 hours, consisting of 30 hours daytime and 18 hours of night. Not only that, to allow the bulk of working-class people to enjoy the game, nighttime, in reality, was daytime in the game. Shafone passed through a multicolored tunnel as soon as he arrived in God's domain, arriving at a solemn golden temple. A female angel with 4 pairs of wings flew towards Shafone. She was only about palm-sized. Hello adventurer, welcome to God's domain. I am the navigation angel, Gabriel. I will be introducing to you the 4 main categories and 12 main jobs. Please choose the job that you like most. With a wave of Gabriel's small hand, an illustration introducing the 12 main jobs appeared in front of Shifeng. These 12 jobs were categorized into 4 main classes: warrior, shield warrior, guardian knight, berserker, weapon specialist, swordsman, assassin, ranger, healer, cleric, druid, oracle, mage, elementalist, summoner, cursemancer. Warriors specialized in defending against monsters, weapon specialists focused on physical damage output, healers focused on healing, mags focused on magical damage output. Every job had their own style of battle, which was one of the main selling points of God's domain. In his previous life, Shifeng picked the swordsman under weapon specialists, and he was even known as the sword magician. Shifeng had already invested too much in the swordsman job, so naturally, he would not choose any other job. He chose the swordsman class he was familiar with without hesitation. Job selection complete. Please designate a name for your character. Yifeng. Shifeng chose the same name he had in his previous life. Naming successful. Do you wish to adjust your appearance? Adjustment rate limited to 15%. Thinking about it for a while, Shifeng chose to adjust his character's appearance by 15% as to not stand out. With this, nobody could recognize Shifeng if they saw his character, though it wasn't as handsome as the original. Please select a birthplace in the Star Moon Kingdom. A map that displayed tens of cities belonging to the Star Moon Kingdom appeared in front of Shifeng. The opening of God's domain was globally synchronized to accommodate for the hundreds of millions of players. The lands of God's domain were incredibly vast, measuring up to 2 or 3 times of Earth, and the kingdoms within were even more plentiful. However, a player's living area and city, in reality, determined the country they would start in, so players could only choose the cities within the country. White River City. Shifeng did not plan to choose any other cities, so he chose the White River City that he was most familiar with. White River City was Star Moon Kingdom's 5th-ranked city. It was an important city in the north of Star Moon Kingdom. There were quite a few workshops that chose to develop there to avoid the struggles between large guilds. City confirmed. Player will arrive in Red Leaf Town of White River City in 3 seconds. We wish you happy gaming. The sight before Shifeng immediately blurred as he was sent away. Red Leaf Town, the buildings that were chaotically arranged there had a similar style to the medieval ages. NPCs filled the bustling streets, making them feel as if it was another world. Shifeng arrived at the front of a church, his new appearance resembling a penniless swordsman. He currently wore a grey novice leather armor, and on his waist hung a novice sword. I still ended up in Red Leaf Town, in the end. Shifeng smiled faintly as he looked at the familiar sight of the small town. Confidence welling up within him. At that moment, many players had started wandering around the town, speaking to NPCs in hopes of obtaining a trail for a quest. There were also quite a few players that went out of the village, going out to the wilderness to kill monsters. Every one of them was carrying out their tasks as if their lives depended on it, and they couldn't help but wish they could split their time in 2. Shifeng didn't pay attention to the other players. With a slight wave and touch of his finger, a player's attribute panel appeared before him. Character, Yifeng, human. Affiliated kingdom, Star Moon. Title, none. Job, swordsman. Level, 0. HP, 100. Physical attack power, 13. Defense, 4. Attack speed, 3. Movement speed, 4. Attributes, Strength 5, Agility 3, Endurance 4, Intelligence 2, Vitality 2. Free attribute points, 4. Weapon Mastery. One-handed sword mastery plus 5, Apprentice rank, increases one-handed sword damage by 5%. Two-handed sword mastery plus 5, Apprentice rank, increases two-handed sword damage by 5%. Free mastery points, 0. Job talent. Swordsman talent 1, sword-related mastery plus 5. Swordsman talent 2, obtain 8 free mastery points every 5 levels. Swordsman talent 3, sword-related skills proficiency increased by 50%. Skills. Chop. Active skill. Requirement, sword. Additional 8 points of damage. Cooldown, 5 seconds. Skill level, 1, proficiency 0, 300. Equipment. Swordsman's leather shirt, grey trash. Level 0. Defense +2. Durability 10/10. Novice sword, grey trash, one-handed sword. Level 0. Equipment requirement, strength 3. Attack power +3. Durability 15/15. Inside his bag, there were 10 pieces of bread and 10 pouches of water. Eating the bread would recover 10 HP per second, while drinking water will recover 10 MP per second, and both effects lasted 10 seconds. Every swordsman started with the same attributes, the only difference being the allocation of the free attribute points. Each player could obtain 4 free attribute points with each increase in level. With each rise in level, the different ways players used these points would result in their own unique style. Strength increases physical attack power and the weight behind each attack. Agility increases attack speed and movement. Speed. Endurance increases maximum HP and stamina. Intelligence increases magical attack power and maximum MP, and vitality increases the recovery rate of MP and HP. Every job places emphasis on different attributes. As swordsmen belong to the physical damage jobs, most people would prioritize strength. In his previous life, Shifeng also made such a choice, adding 2 points to strength, 1 point to endurance, and 1 point to agility for every level. It was a very ordinary and commonplace choice. However, Shifeng did not plan to do so in this life. Without hesitation, Shifeng clicked on the plus sign, plus, for agility, placing all 4 free attribute points into it. Shifeng's agility. Without hesitation, Shifeng clicked on the plus sign, plus, for agility, placing all 4 free attribute points into it. Shifeng's agility increased to 7 points, his attack speed changing to 4 and movement speed to 4. This method of point allocation was something not even assassins, who were widely known for their high agility, would do. They would prioritize strength first, as more damage meant an easier time leveling up. Unfortunately, Shifeng didn't think that way. For melee jobs, agility was the best choice at the early stages of God's domain. This was kept a secret, only being discovered several weeks after God's domain's opening. When it was finally made known, countless melee players couldn't help but hammer their chests in regret. After adding the attribute points, Shifeng took a look at his surroundings. Only a while had passed before another large group of players were sent here. Green rhombus-like symbols belonging to players filled the air of the central plaza, blocking out the yellow symbols belonging to NPCs. Such a situation made looking for an NPC an even greater challenge. DI. Shifeng's voice communication rang, the caller's name showing Black Cloud. It was Blackie calling. Brother Feng, I chose Cursemancer and was sent to Falling Moon Town. Where are you? Now that he had entered God's domain, Blackie was extremely excited, itching to start his journey quickly. I'm in Red Leaf Town, not that far from Falling Moon Town. I'll help you level up, so come to Red Leaf Town. Shifeng said. Brother Feng, you must be crazy. Do you know how far Falling Moon Town is from Red Leaf Village? The map says that it'll take me 7 hours to get there. I'll fall behind all the other players by a lot if I go there. We should just level up on our own and meet up at White River City after reaching level 10. Blackie nearly coughed out blood in anger. Earning 16,000 credits in 10 days was already madness. Instead of frantically leveling up after entering God's domain, he was asked to waste 7 hours? He wasn't going to do that, even if he was beaten to death. Don't worry. You should just come over. You'll get back the time you waste very quickly. Shifeng said dully. When Blackie heard Shifeng's confident tone, he asked excitedly, Brother Feng, could it be that you have a beta testers information? God's domain had invited quite a few people to test the game before it opened, and these people were called beta testers. These beta testers could get a hold of first-hand information for God's domain, and, although changes would be made to the game, the beta testers would most definitely know more than regular players. What do you think? Just hurry over here. Shifeng answered in a mysterious tone, laughing. Hearing Shifeng's words, Blackie knew Shifeng had reliable information, and he couldn't help but get excited, saying, Okay. Wait for me, Brother Feng, I'll go there right this instant. Ending Blackie's call, Chiffon walked towards a small dark alley of the town. There were hundreds of NPCs in Red Leaf Town. However, NPCs that gave quests only numbered in the tens, while hidden. Quests numbered 5, and unique quests numbered only 1. A unique quest would no longer be available once completed by a player. The unique quest in Red Leaf Town was only discovered 2 months after God's Domain's opening, and it had caused a sensation throughout the entire White River City the last time. As the quest was unique, the lucky player revealed the method to obtain it, earning the envy of many players. Unfortunately for them, the quest was no longer available, even if they wanted to do it. Of course, Chiffon wouldn't let this unique quest go in this life. Chiffon arrived at the dark alley filled with beggars in tattered clothing. The beggars were like wolves discovering fresh meat. When they saw Chiffon walking over, quickly surrounding him as they begged for food, there was once a player who had given these beggars a lot of food. These beggars would ask for items after having their fill, and they would ask for more expensive items after each time. The player had agreed to all their requests, consecutively fulfilling more than 10 of their wishes. Unfortunately, the beggars gave absolutely nothing in return, causing the player to nearly pop a vein, becoming a joke for others. "Get lost!" Chiffon yelled as he pulled out his novice sword, causing the powerless beggars to quickly hide away. Chiffon walked to a corner after the beggars dispersed. A vagrant middle-aged man was lying there. There wasn't much of a difference between the man and the other beggars, but if there were one, it would be the man's unyielding integrity, as he was the only one not begging for food. "Do you need any help, sir?" Chiffon formally asked the man. "Can you give me some food?" "It's been 5 days since I've last eaten," the male beggar responded. Chiffon smiled faintly, seriously saying, "Unfortunately, sir, I cannot agree to your wish." A normal person would probably spew blood out in anger if they heard such a reply. However, this beggar merely let out a sigh, no longer saying a word. "However, if you are willing to pay an appropriate price, I can give you the food you need," Chiffon said. The beggar lifted his head and looked at Chiffon, his eyes carrying a hint of anticipation as he said, "If I had the money, I would definitely be willing to pay this cost, but right now I have nothing. Although, if you are willing to help me, I will pay you a sufficient price." "Are you willing to help me? May I ask what you want me to do?" Chiffon questioned. The beggar said seriously, "Please help me kill the mayor of Red Leaf Town, Cross." Even though Red Leaf Town was just a small town, the town mayor was still a level 15 elite. There were also level 25 guards by his side. Aside from that, killing an NPC would result in being arrested. Killing the mayor was, without a doubt, a crazy action, and no player would believe this was a quest, as this was no different than telling players to commit suicide. Nobody would agree to such a damnable request. "All right, I promise you." Chiffon unhesitatingly agreed with a smile. System, unique quest, Sherlock's request accepted. Quest details, kill Cross, the mayor of Red Leaf Town, and bring the mayor's insignia back to Sherlock. Players must not exceed level 10. Chiffon turned around and headed towards the town hall, the place where the mayor was staying, at after receiving the quest. Reincarnation of the Strongest Sword G. Chapter 3, Lonely Snow. Chapter 3, Lonely Snow. Chiffon walked on the path towards the town hall, crowded with people. The less than spacious road was filled with players. They were conversing with the NPCs, taking the chance to obtain a quest. Such a scene gave one a feeling of arriving at a market. Unfortunately, it was not an easy task obtaining a quest in God's domain. The main reason being, the NPCs had high intelligence, giving them the capability to hold one-to-one conversations. Also, players must watch what they say or risk being given the cold shoulder by the NPCs. And there was a tide of players as competition. Obtaining an easily found normal quest was truly difficult. After more than 10 minutes since God's domain started, there had yet to be a single player within Red Leaf Town to receive a normal quest. In comparison, Chiffon's advantage as a reincarnated person was truly great. Not only has he received a quest, but it was a unique quest, albeit a slightly damnable one. However, a unique quest's reward was incredibly generous. Even top-tier Players who had played God's Domain for a month would drool at the reward of this unique quest. As a person who had been reincarnated, Shafong had the experience of leading thousands of people while he was in shadow. Workshop. They had even built 10 city-states. The amount of information on God's domain that was within his grasp far surpassed what the average player knew. It was especially true when it came to strategies on leveling up and earning money. These were the must-have essentials for a workshop with thousands of players to grow in strength. Now that he had been reincarnated and was playing God's domain again, Shafong wanted to use this information to accumulate a significant amount of advantages. It was all to build a better foundation for his future development. So naturally, he would not be imitating the average player, wasting hours on the streets just to fight over a single normal quest. Even more so, he would not be emulating those skilled players, using their refined techniques to kill monsters in the wild, because, at this moment, there were probably more players than monsters in the wild. What Shafong wanted to do was to avoid these piles of players, hence why he chose the unique quest which had an absurd difficulty. However, completing this quest required money, something Shafong did not have right now. Every player would receive 10 copper coins at the start of the game. Although it was not enough to buy a weapon or equipment, purchasing HP or MP replenishing refreshments was not a problem. When Shafong arrived at the front of the 2-storied town hall, he was met with a scene of hundreds of people, queuing up into a long line. Regardless of which game it was, the village head or town mayor was unquestionably a target to receive quests from. Naturally, no player would let this chance go. "Hey newcomer, queue up if you don't want to cause a public outrage." From within the queue, a simple and honest-looking male warrior looked at Shafong. The warrior held up his hand, pointing towards the back of the line of people. "I'm not here to receive a quest," Shafong said indifferently as he looked at the long line in front of the town hall. Compared to the other locations, this place had great order and efficiency. Although it would take more time to receive a quest, it was much better than some who could not receive one at all. The male warrior cautiously looked at Shafong. Everybody was frantically trying to receive a quest right now, but there was someone who actually said that he wasn't interested towards it? Not even a ghost would believe that. "I'm honestly not here to receive a quest," Shafong looked at the male warrior. Seeing the person's hostile eyes and how he thought Shafong had wanted to jump queue, Shafong said with a smile, "However, I advise you to receive a quest somewhere else. You'll just be pointlessly waiting here." Why would it be pointless? There were already a few people who came out after receiving a quest. After determining that Shafong had no intention to jump queue, the male warrior let out a sigh of relief. He had already been in the queue for over 10 minutes now, and he definitely would not want someone to cut in line. However, hearing Shafong's firm tone made him curious as to why he would be waiting for nothing. Shafong smiled but did not elaborate. Instead, he changed the topic, saying, "Seeing as you're not a bad person, I'll point you towards a brighter path. Kill mobs in the fields. You'll have a better future than remaining here." "I'm not going. There are too many monsters in the wild and I can't compete with those other people. This place is still better." The male warrior shook his head. He was not an idiot. At this moment, there were definitely tides of people out in the field area. With just his skills, he probably couldn't even snatch a monster, so he was better off just waiting here. "That's because you went to the wrong place. If you go somewhere with few monsters, naturally, there wouldn't be anybody to compete with you. Compared to the areas packed with both players and monsters, the leveling efficiency there is several times better. Not only that, the respawn rate of the monsters there is slow, so a single person could easily handle themselves." Shafong said with a smile. "Is there really such a place?" The male warrior was excited after listening to Shafong. He was extremely interested in such a location. He still needed to wait for more than an hour to receive a quest, and the rewards he could obtain would only be EXP and some meager amount of money. If he could grind on monsters for an hour unhindered, the EXP he could obtain would far surpass that from the quest. "Of course there is. I'll give you a preferential price of 20 coppers if you want to go to such a treasured location. Don't mention EXP, after grinding for a day, the materials you could obtain would earn you more than 40 coppers. If you're lucky, you could make a ton more if a piece of equipment drops. Chiffon walked closer to the male warrior, whispering into his ears. You're not tricking me, right? The male warrior looked at Chiffon with hesitation in his eyes. If there was such a treasured location, he could definitely surpass the other players by a lot, but 20 coppers was not a small amount. The monsters in God's domain rarely drop money or equipment, so copper coins were incredibly precious. If you don't believe me, you can pay 10 coppers up front first. You'll know just from trying after you arrive at the spot. If it's true, you can then pay me the other 10 coppers. I'm only telling you this because I see that you're a good person. Just forget it. If you don't believe me. Chiffon turned and left after saying his piece. Chiffon wouldn't be doing this if he didn't lack money. At worst, he'll just use some other method to earn money. Just after walking a few steps away, Chiffon was stopped by the male warrior. Expert, hold on a moment. Let's talk about it, all right? Isn't it just a deposit of 10 coppers? Here, take it. I trust that an expert like you won't trick me. The male warrior revealed an honest smile, resolutely trading 10 coppers to Chiffon. Seeing your performance, I'll give you a good location. Although this place is slightly far off, there is only a single mage type. Level 0 green gnome. It has low defense and a quick respawn rate. Chances are also greater of money dropping. A berserker would be great at killing there. Chiffon gave the warrior a good grinding location after happily receiving the 10 coppers. The male warrior was relieved when he noticed how familiar Chiffon was with the wild monsters, even to the degree of knowing the amount of money dropped. He never imagined he would be so fortunate as to meet an expert of God's domain. And not just any expert, Chiffon might even be a beta tester. The male warrior became even more excited as he thought of this possibility. Brother expert, do you know a location that drops skill books for berserkers? It's really hard to fight against mobs with only a single skill. The male warrior was more fond of Chiffon now, even treating Chiffon as his superior. It's fine if you want to know, but it'll cost you 2 silvers, Chiffon smiled. Who would give out such valuable information after only a short conversation? Chiffon would not unless there was money involved, of course. The male warrior paled when he heard the price. 2 silvers equaled 200 coppers. Not even the average guild would have that much money. Expert, let's add each other as friends. I'm Lonely Snow. I'll contact you again once I've saved up enough money. The male warrior sent Chiffon a friend request. All right. Chiffon accepted Lonely Snow's request. Then I'm off to fight mobs, brother expert. I'll mail you the 10 copper immediately after I've saved up enough. Lonely Snow happily parted with Chiffon, leaving the long queue and dashing towards the grinding location. Now that Chiffon had money, he walked towards the fruit stall by the town hall. Boss, how much for this tomato? Chiffon asked as he held up a ripe, red tomato. Both fruits and vegetables could aid in recovering a player's HP and MP. Their tastes were also quite delicious. The only downside was the bad recovery rate. In normal circumstances, players wouldn't buy them at all, especially during such a period where money was a big problem. Spending money on fruits and vegetables was just wasteful behavior. 2 coppers each. Give me 10 of them. Chiffon paid the 20 coppers. He walked into the town hall after receiving the 10 tomatoes. Hey newcomer, queue up. Can't you see others are queuing up as well? Swordsman over there, what do you think you're trying to do? Do you know how many people are queuing up behind? The players in the queue became enraged and started criticizing when they saw Chiffon cutting the line, walking directly towards the town mayor. They would have long since murdered Chiffon, were it not for the fact that they could be jailed for attacking another player inside the town. Sorry, but I'm really not here to receive a quest. I'm just here to take a look. Chiffon smiled at the players. He turned to look at the fat town mayor. Cross, elite, friendly. Level 15. HP 2400, MP 1500. There was not a single player who could beat him at this stage. It was not possible, even with a team. Subsequently, Shifeng took out a ripe and red tomato, taking a bite out of it. What is this person doing? Hell! He's actually eating a tomato. Each of those costs 2 coppers. Such luxury. The other players could not understand what Shifeng was trying to do. By coming to the town hall to eat tomatoes, was he trying to show off how rich he was? Halfway through his tomato, Shifeng suddenly threw it towards Town Mayor Crossface. The tomato accurately landed on Crossface, spreading bright red liquid all over. System, cross favorability towards you has been decreased by 100 points. Unsatisfied, Shifeng took out another tomato from his bag, throwing it at Cross. Hypocrite. Fatty. Bloodsucker. You're not fit to be the town mayor. Shifeng kept cursing as he threw tomatoes, whereas Cross favorability kept decreasing. Cross body turned bright red as tomato juice kept flowing down his body. Adding to his enraged expression, it created an incomparably funny sight. However, nobody within the town hall was laughing. It was exceptionally quiet. All of the players became slack-jawed and dumbfounded at Shifeng's actions. Just after 20 minutes since God's Domain's opening, there was a player that dared to actually attack an NPC, and not just any NPC. He was attacking the leader of a town, the boss of the beginner's area. This person was insane. Wasn't he afraid of being jailed until his death? Did he no longer want to stay in Red Leaf Town? Even taking your revenge on society shouldn't be done in such a way. Just when the other players were expecting the guards to detain Shifeng or for the town mayor to kill off Shifeng in a rage. None of these things actually occurred. None of the players knew that insulting an NPC was not considered an attack. Hence why neither the guards nor Cross attacked Shifeng. Shifeng's actions would only lead to the NPC hating him to the bones, and he could forget receiving quests from the NPC in this lifetime. As Shifeng's last tomato landed on Cross face, Cross favorability fell towards hostile. Cross level became question marks. And the yellow marker above him quickly turned a crimson red. Damnable insect. I'll send you down to hell. The bright red Cross roared loudly as he rushed at Shifeng. Reincarnation of the Strongest Sword G. Chapter 4, The Sensation Caused by Death. Chapter 4, The Sensation Caused by Death. Town Mayor Cross' furious roar reverberated throughout the entire town hall. With a high speed, Cross instantly arrived in front of Shifeng, his fist stretching out towards Shifeng. The other players were currently reveling in Shifeng's misfortune, taking the chance to gauge Town Mayor Cross' strength. Cross was a level 15 elite, and a single slap from him was enough to swat the current players to death. However, Shifeng was foolish to the degree of actually angering the mayor. Not a single person in the entire Red Leaf Town could save him now. He would be jailed until he was on his deathbed, or he would be chased out of Red Leaf Town. However, Shifeng's surprisingly calm attitude puzzled the other players. Was he already prepared for death? When Cross was about to hit Shifeng, the stationary Shifeng finally moved. Like a hunter waiting for his prey, Shifeng immediately unsheathed his novice sword. With swift motions, he used the sword to defend his body. Peng! Cross fist landed on the novice sword, sending Shifeng's entire person flying. Just as Shifeng was about to fall, he flipped his body, landing steadily on the ground with the flexibility of a cat. However, his HP had instantly decreased by 84, and the novice sword in his grip trembled uncontrollably. The sword's durability had even reduced by 1 point. The weapon would become useless once its durability dropped to 0. Sigh. All the players drew in a cold breath. Seeing Shifeng's troublemaking, they had initially thought of him as a mere rookie. However, after Shifeng's recent performance, anybody with a discerning eye could tell he was a very skillful person. Even if Cross had low physical damage as a mage, as a level 15 elite, he could still kill any of the current players in a single strike. Yet, Shifeng was alive. He had used his weapon to block the attack, reducing the damage to a minimum. He's clearly a mage, and yet his strength and speed are truly shocking. Shifeng silently marveled as he looked the lamenting novice sword in his grip. Fortunately, he had added all his points to agility, increasing his attack speed to 4. Otherwise, he would surely be dead by now, having to start his quest all over again. Die, insect. After failing his strike, Cross was further enraged. Suddenly, his clothes were ripped apart, revealing a body covered in pitch black fur. Cross had turned into a werewolf with sharp fangs. Every player was shocked at this moment. Never would they have thought the mayor was an evil werewolf. Cross arrived at Chiffon's back in an instant, raising his bright snowy claws and slashing them at Chiffon's heart. However, Chiffon revealed a cold grin, even though he only had 16 HP remaining. Cross' claws suddenly stopped. They were only a few centimeters away from dealing with Chiffon. Unfortunately, Cross was hit by a level 25 guard's charge, entering a fainted state for 1 second. Chiffon took this chance to quickly move away. Just when Cross was about to rush Chiffon after awakening, he was interrupted once more by another guard. Both of the guards were level 25 warriors. Although neither of them was elites, the damage they dished out was relatively high. A charge, coupled with a normal attack, had quickly taken 300 HP away from Cross. 2 guards had taken away a total of 600 HP, causing Cross HP to fall to 1700 in an instant. As expected of the guards, their attack power sure is high. Chiffon chuckled as he looked at Cross' sorry state. Guards were the protectors of the town. They were specialized in protecting the town's civilians and resisting against the invasion of evil beings. At this moment, the mayor had transformed into a werewolf, proof that he was not a human, but a spy for the powers of evil. The guards would naturally not let him go, killing him as if he were no different than the monsters in the wild. On the surface, the conditions of Sherlock's request seemed harsh. In reality, however, players only needed to actively attack the mayor, subsequently surviving the mayor's first strike. Afterward was just smooth sailing. The guards would handle the rest after the mayor revealed his true self. In Chiffon's previous life, the reason this unique quest could shock the entire White River City was because the town mayor was a spy for the forces of evil. This quest had allowed players to have a new perspective towards God's domain. The NPCs were not entirely reliable, as they might be one of the forces of evil in disguise. Simultaneously, the player who completed the quest had shocked everyone with his method of baiting the town mayor. The player had racked his brain to complete the quest and, naturally, he wanted to show off his efforts by revealing his strategy. Now, though, it was being taken advantage of by Chiffon. As such, Cross was now being attacked by the 2 guards. Although the damage dealt by the guards was very high, Cross' target had never shifted away from Chiffon. He continuously aimed to kill Chiffon, but, unfortunately for him, the 2 guards stuck to him like glue. One of the guards used Bone Crusher, while the other used Thundering Strike, causing Cross' movement speed to plummet. Fortunately, Chiffon was able to escape death with his 5 points of movement speed. Just like that, Cross over 2000 HP was nearly depleted. When the other players saw Cross dying, many of them started becoming restless. They wanted to land the last strike on the mayor. They did not understand why the guards were attacking Cross instead of Chiffon, but a town mayor who was also a level 15 elite. If he died, he would definitely drop some great items. Hiding someplace far away, Chiffon smiled in disdain in regards to their thoughts. Was the town mayor someone they could have ideas about? Although the mayor had become one of the forces of evil, this was only a part of the quest's plot. In the eyes of the other players, the mayor was still in a friendly state. It was not possible to attack the mayor at all. When Cross only had 100 HP remaining, all the other players started moving. All of them simultaneously rushed towards Town Mayor Cross. All of them wanted to give the final strike, snatching away the dropped items. Seeing that Cross was only a hit away from death's door, Chiffon, too, dashed out. Unfortunately, Cross still died under the guard's blade in the end. Not a single one of the players was able to strike at Cross. Although Chiffon could attack, he did not want to risk it. After the mayor's death, he immediately took away the mayor's insignia and disappeared into the crowd. NPCs within a city would not yield any EXP or loot if killed. Chiffon wouldn't even be able to obtain the mayor's insignia were it not for a quest. Crap! The system's bugged. Why can't I attack the mayor? I want to complain. Why didn't the mayor drop anything after death? Some of the rookie players resentfully complained. A level 15 elite had died before their eyes, yet they did not obtain a single advantage. They simply could not accept it. Moron. Don't you know you have a friendly relationship with the NPC? Players can't attack an NPC with a friendly relationship. If you don't even know such common knowledge, why bother playing God's Domain? After ridiculing the rookies, the competent players search for traces of Shafone, a player who could kill the town mayor in such a way was definitely an expert, someone they should associate with. However, they could not spot Shafone, even after looking for a long time. They also did not know his name. They could not help but secretly feel pity. Meanwhile, news of town mayor Cross' death spread throughout Red Leaf Village, creating a sensation amongst all the players. At this phase of the game, where players were still worrying over grinding monsters for levels, the leader of a town was toyed to death so simply. This was just too mind-blowing. Not even 30 minutes since God's Domain's opening, a news thread appeared on the official site's forums. Mysterious swordsman kills off level 15 elite, Red Leaf town mayor. The leader of a town was actually a werewolf in disguise. Exactly what kind of game is God's Domain? This news thread instantly caused a sensation amongst the players. It only took a moment for the number of clicks to the page to go past 10 million. Everyone became interested with this mysterious swordsman. Unfortunately, they could not contact the person since nobody knew his name. By now, Shafone had already arrived at the dark alley. Mr. Sherlock, this is the mayor's insignia that you requested. Shafone passed silver-colored mayor's insignia to the beggar. Sherlock. With the quest's completion, bad news came to both the players who had already received a quest and for those who were currently trying to receive one from the mayor. This was because Cross would not respawn. They would have no place to submit their quest even if it was completed. Red Leaf Town would also no longer have a mayor, though Shafone could care less about that. Thank you. Thank you so much. I have finally attained revenge for my friend. These things should be of help to you. Sherlock passed Shafone a delicate little box. Subsequently, Sherlock took the mayor's insignia and left the dark alley. System, unique quest, Sherlock's request, completed. Rewarding 2000 EXP, 20 free mastery points, 1, luxurious ornament. Box. With a hooah sound, Shafone became level 1, and he was only 1000 EXP away from level 2. Shafone's level became red. Leaf Town's top 1, only 30 minutes after the start of God's Domain. In normal circumstances, the average player required 1000 EXP to rise to level 1. Such an amount required at least 6 or 7 hours of grinding monsters, as each level 0 monster only gave 3 EXP. Time was also needed to look for monsters, to recover, and so on. Factoring in the massive amount of players at the start of the game that was fighting over monsters, taking over 10 hours to arrive at level 1 could be considered average. Why is the unique quest's reward so generous? Was it because I completed it at level 0? Shafone became slightly uncertain. But he was still delighted with such rewards. In his previous life, the rewards posted were not as luxurious. Although the amount of EXP was the same, the number of free mastery points was not. The other person only received 10 points for it, as well as a delicate ornament box, while Shafone received 20 points and a luxurious ornament box. Free mastery points were extremely precious in God's Domain. Rarely would a quest award 3 to 5 points. This unique quest had awarded 20 points. Hopefully, it won't let me down. Although it isn't a delicate ornament box, it is still the better luxurious ornament box. It should come out. Shafone carefully held the ornament box, a nervous gulp coming from his throat. Slowly, he opened the box. Though the EXP and free mastery points were great, what Shafone really wanted was the item inside the ornament box. It was an essential item he needed to complete his leveling and money-making plans. It was also a top-tier item that many experts drooled over. Shafone would cry to death if something went wrong. Reincarnation of the Strongest Sword G. Chapter 5, Black Market Challenge. Chapter 5, Black Market Challenge. As the luxurious ornament box slowly opened, a dazzling array of multicolored light burst out from within. Fortunately, Chiffon was currently standing inside a dark alley. There were no players who would wander over here. Otherwise, such a spectacle would have incited the greed in their hearts and Chiffon would be killed and robbed. When the glowing brilliance faded, a simple silver necklace and a purple gold ring could be seen lying inside the luxurious ornament box. Carved on the ring's exterior were words resembling the ancient language of elves, and within them stored a tremendous magical power. Fortunately, it is still the ring of gravity. Chiffon let loose his breath when he saw the appearance of the ring. Carefully, he took the ring out of the box and inspected it. Ring of gravity, mysterious iron rank. Equipment level, 0. Strength +2, agility +1, endurance +1. Additional skill, gravity liberation. Greatly reduces the gravity acting upon the user. Duration 30 seconds. Cooldown 5 minutes. Great! It's not just bronze rank. After reading the item's introduction, Chiffon became extremely excited. The situation was far better than he had expected. The equipment in God's domain was categorized into trash, common, bronze, mysterious iron, secret silver, fine gold, dark gold, and epic. At the start of the game, players only received trash equipment from the system. This equipment was utterly worthless. At this stage of the game, however, there were no players who possessed common equipment. While you could buy common equipment in large cities, the prices were costly. As for bronze ranked, those were extremely rare and they also came with additional attributes. Mysterious iron equipment, however, only dropped from bosses and, needless to say, they were even more precious. In Chiffon's previous life, the ring of gravity obtained by the player was only bronze ranked. It gave only an additional 1 point to strength. The skill gravity liberation, as well, only lasted for 15 seconds. It was a surprise to Chiffon that completing the quest at level 0 would earn him a mysterious iron ring of gravity. As for the necklace, it was just a grey item. NPC merchants coveted these items and they were willing to buy them at high prices. After wearing the ring of gravity, Chiffon added the 4 free ability points that came from leveling up all into agility. Chiffon's agility rose to 12 points, his attack speed to 5 points, and his movement speed to 6 points. He could almost rival a pure agility assassin of the same level now. My agility will reach 20 points after rising to level 3. At that time, I can unlock the hidden basic skill of the agility system. Chiffon looked at his attribute panel in anticipation. Chiffon moved his body, feeling it become a lot livelier than before. He wouldn't be in his previous sorry state if he were to face off with Town Mayor Cross right now. If his agility reached 20 points, the condition of his body would become even greater after activating the basic skill, fast and nimble. He could even rival against those Wulian experts depicted in wuxia novels. Afterward, Chiffon added 15 of the free mastery points towards his one-handed sword mastery, keeping the remaining 5 points for future use. With his one-handed sword mastery now at a total of 20 points, Chiffon advanced from apprentice to basic swordsman, and the additional damage dealt by using a one-handed sword increased to 10%. He was still 30 mastery points away from advancing to an intermediate swordsman. Regular attacks were only the basics for a swordsman. If one wanted to become an expert with the sword, skills were a must-have. The more, the better, as this would create more flexibility when in battle, thereby allowing the swordsman to dish out greater damage. Chiffon was both an expert of the sword and a person who had been reincarnated. Now that he had a special tool such as the ring of gravity, he needed a large amount of swordsman skills to display the true potential of a swordsman. He could then level up at a fast pace. Otherwise, it was impossible to increase the efficiency of killing monsters by relying on normal attacks. I recall there being a black market challenge in Red Leaf Town's trade area. Players who cleared the challenge for the first time would be able to obtain a skill book for swordsmen. Most skill books dropped from monsters around levels 3 to 5 and their drop rates were pitifully low. At this stage of the game, there were still no players capable of grinding those monsters. It would be a big waste of time if Shifeng wanted to obtain the other skill books for swordsmen. He also did not have the time for it. So, the Black Market Challenge was the only way for Shifeng to quickly obtain a skill book in Red Leaf Town, trade area of Red Leaf Town. Shops filled both sides of the street. There were pharmacies, smithies, bars, and more. It was extremely flourishing, just like a small market. However, the current trade area wasn't as lively as it should be. It hasn't been long since God's Domain started its operation, so most players were busy leveling up instead of enjoying what God's Domain had to offer. As a result, there was only the minority of lifestyle players staying here. They were here to learn auxiliary jobs such as enchanter, forger, pharmacist, chef, engineer, alchemist, etc. Buying herbs at a high price. Contact me directly if you have any. UYGEBS@AGPCE, contact EDECLUAEAY. Buying ores, rip-offs can stay away. Sincerely buying high-ranking equipment. Price is negotiable. Willing to pay with credits. Many logistic staffers of workshops and guilds had set up a small stall by the roadside of the trade area. They were mainly here to buy items and equipment. Shifeng quickly headed towards a two-storied building without halting. High-ranking gnomes guarded the building, and above the building read, Black Market. This place was the dark side of Red Leaf Town, and it was a place of entertainment built by the greedy gnomes. The gnomes' auction house could be seen just after entering the Black Market. Going down along the basement staircase led to two empty fields. One was the battle arena, while the other was the field for the challenge race. At the moment, several players were standing in front of the field. They were receiving the gnomes' challenge. Good luck. You have to succeed this time. Good luck. Stomp those gnomes. A few players were currently cheering with all their might for an assassin player that stood on the field. Their reddened eyes made them look no different than crazed gamblers. The challenge race could be considered a testing grounds for a player's capabilities. Once a player entered the trial grounds, all their attributes would be fixed at 10 points, their skills disabled, and their equipment rendered useless. Within the 30 yards long and 10 yards wide field, players were only allowed to block or dodge the incoming shots from the gnomes' muskets. A victory would ensue once players arrived at the finishing point. The gnomes gave out 3 ranks of challenges: copper prize, silver prize, and gold prize. After a challenge was completed, there would be a 3-day cooldown. There was a fee of 5 coppers for the copper prize, 5 silvers for the silver prize, and 5 gold for the gold prize. Naturally, the higher ranked the challenge, the greater the prize. There was even the chance of obtaining a dark gold equipment. However, if a player obtained the first clear for the challenge in Red Leaf Town, the reward of copper prize may be comparable even to the silver prize. In Shifeng's previous life, this first clear was obtained by a swordsman named Fierce Gale, and the person had received a rare skill book for swordsman. After a short while, the assassin on the field was struck. His body lay at the 20 yards mark, still 10 yards away from the final point. Despicable. Just a little bit more. Do you guys still have money? I'll definitely clear it the next time, the male assassin said. After reviving from the field, a male cleric shook his head saying, "Boss Stabbing Heart, the 5 of us have already given you all our money. We don't have any more." By the side, Shifeng shifted his sight towards the assassin. He was shocked after hearing the 2 words, Stabbing Heart. The person's body was covered in black clothing. He had a short and skinny stature, just like a monkey. Shifeng could hardly believe that the monkey in front of him was Stabbing Heart, the assassin who ranked at number 10 on Star Moon Kingdom's assassin leaderboard. The assassin named Stabbing Heart shifted his gaze onto Shifeng. After sizing Shifeng up, his eyes revealed a gaze as if they had just found prey. With a smile, he walked up to Shifeng and said, "Nice to meet you, friend. I'm Stabbing Heart, assassin. Squad leader of the Assassin's Alliance. Lend 5 coppers to me and I'll return 20 coppers to you tomorrow. How about it?" Stabbing Heart was just 10 yards away from the final point this time, so he was unwilling to accept defeat. He had already figured out some of the challenge patterns. He would be able to clear it if given another chance. Hence, he thought of using his guild's name to shock an or Shifeng into lending him 5 coppers. The Assassin's Alliance was a large guild that was well known in the world of virtual gaming. Any veteran gamer would know this name. Someone capable of becoming the squad leader for Assassins was definitely a great expert, a figure that was respected by many players. Instead of lending, the average player would definitely just give the 5 coppers to gain some favors. 5 coppers, is it? After some thinking, Shifeng answered, I can lend you the 5 coppers, but you have to pay back 50 coppers. Tomorrow. Stabbing Heart was surprised. He was Stabbing Heart, the Assassin's Alliance's famous assassin squad leader. However, Shifeng's uncourteous reaction was completely different than what he had imagined it would be. Could Shifeng be a rookie gamer? Seeing Stabbing Heart staying silent, Shifeng asked, still borrowing? I'll borrow. Stabbing Heart wanted to weep. Other players would be going expert when they met him, yet Shifeng showed no such reaction. However, when he thought about the bountiful reward awaiting him, even 50 coppers was worth it. Here's 5 coppers. Let's add each other as friends. Don't forget to return 50 coppers to me tomorrow. Shifeng took 5 coppers out of the 60 he obtained from selling the necklace, not forgetting to remind Stabbing Heart to return the 50 coppers. With tears flowing down his face, Stabbing Heart received the 5 coppers and said, fine. I won't forget. Not knowing what Stabbing Heart was thinking, Shifeng walked away after the trade was completed. He headed towards the green-skinned gnome who was the challenge race's administrator. Sir, time is money. What business do you have? The gnome administrator said so in a lofty tone. I want to enter the copper prize challenge. Shifeng said as he handed over 5 coppers. After flipping the copper coins a few times, the gnome nodded his head in approval. He opened the wooden door to the challenge race, allowing Shifeng to enter. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a new challenger on the field. Please let us welcome this brave swordsman. The gnome loudly announced. Boss Stabbing Heart, the kid that lent you money is participating in the challenge race, the male cleric pointed out. The resting Stabbing Heart laughingly said, that kid's just a rookie. Does he think the challenge race is so easy? Even though the distance is only 30 yards, the gnome's attack pattern will change after you get past 15 yards and their attack rates greatly increase. Not to mention, even I have difficulty facing them. That's for sure. Even an expert such as Boss Stabbing Heart could only reach 20 yards. I'm guessing that kid will, at most, reach 5 yards before being done in. The male cleric nodded with a smile. Inside the field, the 3 gnomes standing at the finishing line readied their muskets, aiming them towards Shifeng. Above the challenge field, the timer started counting down. 3, 2, 1, challenge start.